This week on the Knowledge Bar, does country music fucking suck now? A Tigers pitcher had an historic outing and nobody saw it, and the NBA playoffs are in full swing. And Pat leads us on a discussion about young people and the rise of adulting classes. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the Knowledge Bar, where we're elevating bar talk. I'm Alex.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Patrick.
And I'm Chris.
And we're excited to have you in for another episode of the Knowledge Bar. Before we get started today, I want to remind everybody out there to please subscribe, rate, comment, drop us that 5-star review. That really helps us out. Also appreciate you sharing us on social media. Follow us, share this with your friends. Let them know that they should come in and listen and hang out with the guys at the Knowledge Bar as well. If you ever have any need for additional content or you want to get in touch with us, you can find content at theknowledge.bar, or you can email us at the podcast at theknowledge.bar.
There we go.
It's written down.
It is. But you know what? I'm getting in the vibes.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe all our emails have been going to the
That's definitely the problem. Well, welcome in, everybody. We've got a handful of things on the agenda today. Before we get started, how we doing today, fellas?
Hey, man, this was a beautiful weekend. Can't complain.
It was a beautiful Memorial Day weekend.
3-day weekend. That shit is clutch.
Solid weather the whole weekend.
Yeah.
Pat didn't care about the weather at all. He just was hype he didn't have to go to work today.
I didn't have to go to work. I slept in. That shit was crispy.
Well, you're about to have Memorial Day weekends all the time pretty soon here.
That's wild. That's fucking wild. That's so crazy.
Bro, I was having a great Memorial Day weekend. Today on Memorial Day, I woke up and I was like, you know what I'm going to do today? I'm going to get a little home project in. I'm going to wake up. I've been prepping for the last couple of weeks so I could paint my deck. All right. Semi-large project, but really not that serious. I'm going to paint my deck. Finally got the weather to do it. Pumped up. Get out there. I get started this morning. Ethan was kind enough to come over here at 9 o'clock in the morning just to help me carry the Blackstone off the deck. Heads up, E. Love you. But it's going great. At 1 o'clock, I'm thinking, dude, this project is going sweet. At about 1 o'clock, I'm using a paint sprayer, and all of a sudden I hear this pop. And then I detach the paint sprayer from the paint can to see what's going on, and pieces of the paint sprayer begin falling out of the machine and onto the ground.
Oh my God.
The machine,
broke?
It exploded. Like something on the inside detonated itself, and pieces of it, I just tilted it over, and pieces of plastic and wire and metal just start falling out of this device.
Oh, man.
Problem number one. Problem number two.
Pretty
You know
major
what?
problem.
Yeah, right. And there's a list.
So here's the thing. I just eat that one. I run to Home Depot. I buy a new paint sprayer. No big deal. Whatever. I have a relatively cheap one anyway. It doesn't really matter.
Oh, well, that explains why it broke.
Pop out, grab a new paint spray. It shouldn't break. It's not that cheap. So I pop out, I grab a new paint sprayer, right? But then this is actually insane problem number two. So the reason I also did it this weekend was because one of my neighbors was like, hey, he has a buddy who paints for a living, and was like, hey, he actually had a job get canceled on him, and I have deck paint that I'm not going to use. He bought it for this job. Do you want it? I was like, yeah. So I get it. It was in 2-gallon jugs and a 5-gallon bucket. I didn't think I'd get to the 5-gallon bucket, so I used the 2 gallons. I get to about 3 o'clock this afternoon, and I'm like, man, I actually do need to get into the 5-gallon bucket. I go to start painting, and I realize that it's a different color.
Oh, no.
It's better than that. The bucket wasn't a different color. The middle gallon was a different color that I had already applied completely.
So you have a bicolored deck right now?
I do not, because then I took the bucket and I painted everything that I had painted with that other gallon.
Okay, so you just got a nice second coat.
I painted the deck twice today.
It's a second coat.
Really. I had mental and physical strength to paint one deck today. 2 was not enough.
But I bet it looks. I haven't looked at it yet, but I bet it looks really good.
I think it looks good, but it was.
Two coats is always better.
I just wanted you guys to know that there was a trip to Home Depot and I couldn't believe it was the middle bucket of paint that was bad.
That's crazy. It must have been really close. You didn't notice it at first.
It was, and because with the deck, I painted the outside of the rails, and then I moved and painted the inside of the rails. So the only time
you couldn't even see it.
Yeah, I couldn't even tell while it was happening until I tried to switch to the bucket in the middle of the floor of the deck, and I was like, I had Haley come outside. I was like, "Am I crazy? That's two different colors, right?" And she was like, I'm going to say yeah.
I wonder what they were going to do with that. Were they going to do some trim or something like that with that?
Yeah, what was this project?
So the only thing I can come up with is that the paint store actually screwed it up when he bought the paint. And
that was why the project got canceled.
And because he never used it. Shouts to my boy for giving me some paint, but man, by the time I got done today, guys, I was hurting. I was in pain. I'm still in pain.
Hey, got it done though. Persevered.
Sorry, I took you guys on down that track for a second, but yeah,
it was
a terrible Memorial Day.
You needed to get that one out. Yeah.
I did. I needed to tell you guys.
It was building up in you.
It took everything from me.
I feel like
today.
you've earned today's tasting.
Dude, you know what? And I appreciate that. And let's just get to it. So, for what are you drinking today? We are going to be doing something a little special rather than doing all of our own tastes for the day. We decided that on this week's episode, we are going to do a collective bourbon tasting of something that I think we're all pretty excited about. So we are going to be doing a tasting of 3 Old Forester whiskeys. And I think for most of the group, Old Forester pretty high on the list of distilleries that we like. Normally do a pretty good job, good products.
It's good.
Some good juice.
I hate when people say that.
I fucking hate
juice inside.
No, we don't need to say it.
It's really good.
Fucking just call it whiskey. Good whiskey.
I like that phrase, the juice inside the bottle, because you can. It's spirit agnostic, right? You could be talking about whiskey, but you could be talking about rum. You could be talking about tequila. You could be talking about gin.
You could be talking about juice.
You could be talking about juice.
You see the problem here?
You could be talking about wine, right?
I think the ambiguity is what bothers me.
That's what bothers you?
It's just, it's something you say. It's signal that you're in with other whiskey people.
Oh, it totally is. It totally is. Chris would say that to somebody at the bar and be like, "Oh, that's a really good juice," because he wants the person at the bar to know he drinks whiskey.
Yeah, you're silently letting them know, you're indirectly letting them know.
I am low-key all about that shit, so.
Yeah. Love some jargon.
Yeah.
I do love some jargon.
Insider talk.
Just some regular douche talk. All right, so we have got 3 bottles in front of us that we're going to try. We're going to compare them. We're going to talk a little bit about them. Now, admittedly, these are 3 pretty high-end Old Forester selections. We are not tasting the stuff off the bottom shelf. This is a really good selection of Old Forester. We're going to start off with Old Forester, I believe their newest addition to their lineup, which is the Old Forester 1924. The 1924, I believe, released in 2024. If I remember, they released it for the first time last year. Still pretty tough to get because they've only done 2 one-time releases. So people are pretty mixed on this bottle from what I hear out there in the world. There's a lot of people who really like it. There are other people who think it's pretty disappointing.
The MSRP is a little aggressive for what it is. You compare it to other 10-year bottles and they're asking, $110 for it?
I think if you get it at 110, you did pretty good because most of the places, if you buy it secondary, you're going to be closer.
Yeah,
to
the SRP is 110 or something like that.
Yeah, but it's a 10-year age bottle. I'm pretty excited about this one. I just opened this bottle. I have not tried it yet, so I'm pumped. I haven't even had this one.
And the rumor is that this is King of Kentucky candidate whiskey. This was the whiskey, not the juice. The whiskey was supposed to go into King of Kentucky, but it didn't clear whatever final hurdle that they needed to clear for it. So they made a whole new line so that the whiskey didn't go to waste.
Not bad.
It's really interesting, though, with all of the distilleries, with the bourbon boom, us being now well into the aftermath, how aged whiskey is now becoming more common. And
love it.
The 10 years from Old Forester is a really great example of that. You could not find this shit when they first dropped it. Still hard to find.
But you can
get it if you're looking hard enough.
Well, and you're just seeing more and more places put up those high age statements. Like, I mean, even Russell's moving from that 13 to 15 just because they
Or
were.
Wild Turkey putting 8 on the regular shelf now.
Yeah. The 1018 year.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to do the 1924, and then bottle number 2 is going to be an Old Forester single barrel strength bourbon. These used to be relatively hard to come by, but now it feels
They're
like you can
everywhere.
pretty much have them anytime you want them. The MSRP on this bottle is also right about $90.
80.
So, and these are all single barrel picks.
Yep.
Can
They
you
do not
talk
make.
for a moment, like, what single barrel is if someone doesn't?
Yeah,
regularly
for our non-whiskey listeners out there. So if you don't know this about bourbon already, so generally speaking, most of the bourbon that you drink regularly is probably batched bourbon. So basically they take a whole bunch of barrels, they dump it all together, and then they pour it into bottles. It's how they create consistency in their product. So like if you go buy a bottle of Buffalo Trace, for example, that's just a bunch of barrels of Buffalo Trace that they dump together and then they put it in the bottles, creates consistency, allows them to make a lot of it. But that's pretty much how you do that. A single barrel means that the whiskey in this bottle came from one barrel. So they took one barrel, they dumped it normally into, 120 bottles?
It depends because the
Depends on
barrels,
the barrel.
the barrels
on
can be
the
different.
age.
Well, the barrels can be also depends on the age, but also the size of the barrel.
Yeah. So anywhere between 60 and 120 bottles of bourbon probably come out of a single bottle. And the way that Old Forester does their single barrel program is that they actually do not just make an Old Forester single barrel in general. They specifically only
picks,
do
yeah.
store picks, which basically means a specific whiskey or a specific store comes to the distillery and they pick the barrel that they want that's going to be theirs. This is also a barrel strength bourbon, which essentially means that when they take it out of the barrel, they don't water it down.
Yeah, most of the whiskey you consume off the shelf is watered down. Most of the spirits, so not just whiskey, but gin, tequila, anything that's like 80 proof doesn't come out of the still or the barrel at 80 proof. It usually comes out over 100 proof, and they proof it down with water so that it doesn't like burn your mouth.
Yeah. So your average bourbon that most people would buy just because they want to drink it, it's normally going to be somewhere around 90 proof, which is about 45% alcohol. Most of your barrel proofs are going to fall somewhere between 110. They could go all the way up to, I think the
160.
hottest bottle I have is about 150. So it just depends on what folks are going for. But barrel proof has become very, very popular in the bourbon boom. This is kind of, again, it's become one of those things that's like the signal that you're a bourbon drinker is
That you like
drink.
cask strength. That
Cask strength,
you're
but-
chasing the proof.
Exactly. People like that high proof stuff. So that will be our second pour. And then our third pour is going to be a little bit of the opposite, which is a single barrel strength rye, which this one has not necessarily become super readily available out there. Carries an MSRP again of about $90-ish dollars. Buying it secondary, like somewhere like here in Michigan, you're probably going to pay closer to 150. If you really want to get your hands on a bottle like this.
I got it for 95, but I
You're in
also
Ohio.
I got it in Michigan, but I
hell
bought
yeah.
it with a Hoshku 12. So I think they wanted to move the 12, so they just gave me that at the regular price.
Pat was just
He's
in here
in
hustling bourbon
Japanese
Yeah.
store.
Getting Japanese whiskey.
Trying-
Like, well, just give me the American shit while you're at it.
So we're going to work our way through this. I'm going to shut up. We're going to start with the 1924. We're going to give everybody just a second to get some notes. Feel free to comment on the smell. Feel free to comment on the taste. Take it in, fellas.
Kind of vegetal and like floral on the nose, I feel like.
I'm definitely getting flowers.
Is anybody else getting a really, thick mouthfeel on that?
I actually am not. I actually think
it's coating mine.
it's relatively thin.
Then
Yeah.
Wow, that's tannic. That's a lot of barrel.
I definitely get the barrel in it, for sure.
chocolate.
Like bitter chocolate, though.
Which is not normally a flavor that I'm very into.
Like cacao.
It is
I
pretty
definitely,
warm.
I definitely get the honey. It definitely drinks a little hotter than I want it to drink.
For 100 proof, yeah.
Yeah, at only 100 proof, like it definitely drinks hotter than I'd like it to drink.
Bacon spice on the finish. It's got a long finish.
All right.
Yeah.
1924. Any
Did
other
it live
thoughts?
up to the hype? It did not live up to the hype for me. Like, this bottle was setting Reddit, YouTube
Aflame.
on fire. Like, people wanted that bottle really badly.
Yeah.
I think people who want the barrel taste, and I mean that's really popular right now. Like the double barrel, double oaked, like all that stuff is like very
Triple oak.
popular right now.
To be
so-
fair, to be fair to the whiskey, this is a fresh crack, right? Like,
Yeah.
So
Well, two of our bottles are, so the rye and the 24 were both fresh
and
crack.
and so the bourbon has had a lot of time to open up. This one hasn't had any time to open up. So ostensibly it could mellow out quite a bit in the future. This has gotten sweeter over time.
Let's transition then.
So as a reminder, second one is going to be our single barrel strength bourbon. Like maple syrup on the nose.
I tell you,
of
this
this.
one's the Kroger pick is sweet.
Yeah, I'm getting like lots of sugar.
Wow.
Not
that-
as fragrant in general, I would say,
It's
as
so much
the last one.
softer. It's
Yeah.
softer than this. I get a bigger nose on the 1924.
that
by
is
a lot.
sweet.
But
That
yeah,
is
it's-
so sweet.
it's
You were
very
not
sweet.
Wow, the
kidding.
flavor is like big. It carries so much more flavor than that 1924 does.
I agree with that.
I mean, it's a much higher proof.
And it,
It's
but the thing, but the,
28 proof.
It's a lot
but
chiller,
the thing
though.
is, it like drinks. It drinks
Yeah,
almost
for
the
the
same
proof, yeah, right.
as that 100 proof does, and and it's at 128.5. Like that's crazy. I do like this second pour though. I'm really
That is
digging-
delicious.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
delicious.
Kroger picked it good. This is a fucking grocery store pick. This is crazy.
And I do. I even get it in the flavor. I get a lot of like maple syrup on this.
Mhm.
Like I get like dark caramelized sugar. Like it is. I really like this
And
one.
a little bit of oak in there.
I think I like it better than the first one, but I'm not a huge like it. Just I'm not getting as much flavor out of it as
Are you
you
getting
are.
that
I feel
sweetness?
like
That, cause like to me, it's so aggressive on the sweetness.
it's definitely sweet, but I just feel like there's not a lot of layers going on. Like even the first one at least felt like it had something going on with like the barrel and everything, even though I didn't necessarily like it. But
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, this is probably much older. I don't know how old the single barrels are.
I want to say they bottle them at 7.
What you can tell is the extra 3 years in the barrel here really comes through on the 1924. Because I mean, it's
apparently 4 to 5.
4 to 6 years.
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
okay. Yeah, so like this one's in the barrel for almost twice as long, or maybe even more than twice as long, and you can taste it. Like you're tasting the barrel in
Yeah.
this one.
Well, and I think that's what though people were like begging Old Forester for, because most of their product is pretty young, and I think like bourbon enthusiasts were like, "Will you leave it in the barrel for a little bit
longer?"
People were really on that, but I
think it's their
didn't-
only double digit age statement whiskey.
I think it is. Yeah, I didn't.
What's their
realize-
birthday? What's your birthday bottle?
Birthday
then?
bourbon? How old is birthday bourbon? Because that shit is like $200.
Well, cause, and it's
And it's
You
impossible.
never
to find.
fucking find
You will
it.
never see it.
Have you ever had it?
No.
I haven't either. I've seen it on a menu a couple times and have thought about trying it, but
But that was on like $50 for an ounce.
12 year.
12. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
12 year. But this is pretty typical for me though, because like I've told all of you this, like I love the Old Forester single barrel strength. I don't think I've ever had one of these that I have not liked,
Yeah, that's true.
which kind of with like single barrels, especially store picks, like you can come across ones that you don't dig.
And the interesting thing about Old Forester is that it's like a really distinctive taste. It's kind of like this. It doesn't like. It's not like a Buffalo Trace flavor profile at all. Like,
oh no.
it's its own thing, and I think that's what makes Old Forester kind of cool. Is that it's kind of like this like unique flavor profile that doesn't really taste like a lot of other bourbons. You get big oak and big sweet.
Tastes like Louisville.
There you go.
Have you ever been?
Yeah.
To the distillery?
No, I've been to Louisville, but not
Louisville.
To Louisville.
The distillery is like downtown.
It's like
which
in
is,
the city,
which is
which
pretty
is-
cool.
Ooh,
Yeah,
yeah.
like it's just like it's like a shop front, and then it like goes back, and the entire building, like the entire
Sick.
row of places, is the distillery. But it is super cool. The thing that some people don't like about like their tour there is that obviously there's no rick houses because they can't age anything on premise because they
Right.
just don't have the space. So they have some aging that they have like one big room where they
Yep.
do some aging in house, but for the most part they age all their stuff off site.
Offsite.
But it is a cool tour. Recommend it. They actually, they have a cooperage in the building.
Fun.
So you actually
can watch them build
you
a
can-
barrel.
You get to see them fire barrels, which is super cool if you've never seen some of that shit.
They do not, however, sell anything cool in their gift shop.
That's not
It's
true.
like
It's
all their regular shit.
But every now and then they do the 117s, and it's only in the gift shop.
That they'll drop randomly, but no
Right.
one ever knows.
No one ever knows, yeah.
It's
You have
not
to
like
just-
Buffalo Trace where you always know
Yeah.
something's coming. Like that's half the reason to go now.
I'm kind of excited for this rye. I've never had an Old Forester rye, so
I also have never had this one, and like on excitement, this bottle is like very
The
high.
highest, the highest.
Because I love the single barrel proof bourbon. Like I've been pumped about this. The rye is like heavy on the nose.
yeah, it's bigger.
It's kind of almost vanilla.
It's interesting. I'm getting more flowers and like citrus.
It's super interesting. Like the very first taste was like citrusy orange almost.
Wow.
That's the most interesting of the three.
Yeah.
Did somebody say citrus?
Yeah.
Was I use citrus? I think I like the bourbon better.
It definitely has like those grainy flavors that like come over the top and into the back of your tongue. Like it's very like it's got that rye feature to it where it's like
I think I like
Medicinal.
not medicinal.
It's
It's
just-
like
Like, like the medicinal spice.
It just sits in the back with that spice.
yeah,
that
back
just
here that
stays.
spice just like sits on the
Yeah.
back of your tongue, and it really kicks with
It is like drying my mouth out too. Like,
pithy.
yeah.
It's drying. Drying is a term.
Yeah. But
That's from the
it's
barrel.
really tasty. It's really good.
It is
Yeah.
good. It's a good bottle.
I did expect that to take my clearing out number one ranking. It did not. I think I like the bourbon better. I think my rankings would go pretty clearly. I'm gonna go the bourbon. I'm gonna go the rye, and then I'm gonna go 1924. And I think it's a distant 3 for me. I'm
I'm
curious,
gonna come back to
Chris, if you're
24.
saying
I'm
like
gonna come back to 24.
the bottle will open up more. Maybe I'll like the 24 more.
I want to come back to the 24. So what the first thing that jumped out at me on the 24 was the oak. Like it was like big oak. So I'm gonna kind of come back to it. See what.
yeah,
I think I would go rye. And I think, I don't know, the other two are pretty close to me, and I think the 24 is more interesting. I just didn't, I like the bourbon, obviously, but I just didn't think there was as much going on. I
So
like
you're
when
going
there's
rye
24.
24 bourbon.
Yeah.
You know, it's interesting. It's almost like I don't want to say we're like setting up the 24 to fail, but like it's because it's not barrel strength. The flavors are always just going to be softer because it's only at 100 proof as compared to 128.
I think I would agree with you on that. But the problem with that is it's drinking.
I mean,
It's
it drinks hot, but I mean, when you come back to it, like coming back to it off of the rye, it doesn't drink hot at all. But like the
Oh,
volume,
I still think it drinks hot. I just
Oh, you
came,
just
I
had one?
just came back
I
to
don't
it.
think it drinks that hot.
My problem
comparatively.
is I think it drinks at like 117. And the thing is that yes, you're getting bigger flavors, but one of the things that I want if I'm not going to get the proof is I want it to taste better. You know, I think part of what you get from those lower proof bourbons is you get something that's more palatable and has a little bit more.
You know, I think I'm not sure if I would put it on this. I would put it on a similar tier in the sense that it kind of depends on what you're looking for. Like if you want, like I think this is my opinion. If you want like classic bourbon flavors, like the single barrel proof is probably gonna get you where you want to go. Kind of like sweet, and, you know, like the caramel, the caramelized sugar, all that stuff. Like you're gonna get that here. The 24 has a lot of different layers, but it's much drier than the barrel proof. Like it is like dark chocolate, coffee, cacao, like oak, like wood. Like it is just very, very dry. But you know, there are layers there. The nose on this is bigger, like a lot bigger than the nose. Now, granted, this is a much older bottle, so who knows? But like there is a lot going on here. There's just more barrel influence. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I can rank them all. I think I'd probably say that
On your
the
preference?
bourbon.
What are
I
you
would say
reaching for first?
I would crush the barrel proof bourbon, and I know I would because I do that regularly. This is what I would go to if I wanted a drink. Like I want a drink at the end of the night. I want a nightcap. I'm going to go with the barrel proof bourbon. And then I think if I wanted to taste something more interesting, I would go either 24 or the barrel proof rye. Because these have much more interesting flavors to me. But they're not like more pleasant flavors, if that makes sense. Like, they're just like, I want to contemplate these. I want to think about what I'm tasting a little bit more.
The other two are not for beginners, is basically what Chris is saying. I would go
the rye is not for beginners.
No, not at all. Like, I would not recommend that anybody who does not seriously drink whiskey, I would not recommend the 1924 or the rye to you if you don't drink a lot of whiskey. 100% would recommend the barrel proof bourbon. The barrel proof bourbon.
Yeah, you'll like it.
Especially if you have drank some bourbon, but maybe you want to experiment with something high.
Alex?
Yeah, the bourbon would be mine.
The bourbon. What do you have it too?
Yeah, I would go bourbon rye 1924. I don't care for, and I'm finding more and more that I just don't care for this double oak flavor. Like, I don't like that.
It's really public. They got triple oaking shit now.
Oh, I know, and I just don't care
Angel's
for
Envy triple oak.
Yeah,
I don't care for the dryness. I don't care for that like flavor. Yeah, like, it's just, it doesn't do anything for me, and I know people like it. I just do not. It's not for me.
I think like once we go to those lower proofs, I think that's what Buffalo Trace really excels with, that sweetness that accompanies it. Then you can just drink it all day long.
Yeah, you just crush
I find
Buffalo
myself
Trace.
just crushing that shit. But when we go up the ladder,
I think what's interesting is that compared to like other high age whiskeys that I've had, like the Knob Creek 12 or something like that similar, like I find that this one is just like going like a completely different direction. Like I find that with like the other high age bourbons, that it's almost like pushing, maybe, you know, they're not as loud because they're lower proof, but they're pushing like deeper into the classic bourbon notes. And the 24 is kind of doing its own thing. Like it's because it's not double oaked, but like you get more barrel, you get more floral, you get more bitter. And like it's just doing its own thing. It's like it is a unique bird in that sense.
Yeah. All right. Well, guys, whiskey tasting. Done with all that. Now let's get into it for today. So everybody's still got a little bit left in their glasses. We'll finish those off, and we're going to do some What's Got You this week. So, Chris, why don't you kick us off, man? What's got you?
What's got me fucked up this week is that we probably had one of the greatest pitching performances ever on Sunday, May 25th by Harig Skubal, and I have no idea if anyone even saw it. So, long story short, I and my son and I went to the baseball game on Sunday against the Tigers versus the Cleveland Guardians. Harig Skubal threw what's known as a Maddox. A Maddox is a reference to Greg Maddux, a legendary pitcher for the Chicago Cubs. I think he played for a bunch of other teams.
The Braves is who we'd be more associated with.
Oh, I always associate him with the Cubs, so I don't know. But essentially what it means, it's a complete game shutout on fewer than 100 pitches. But here's the other thing. It might have been the greatest Maddox ever. Like, it's the only time someone has thrown a Maddox while also striking out 13 batters, no walks, and only one hit. Like, it's the only time it's ever happened. So it was really, really a special game. And I don't know if anyone saw it because you would think, oh, an ace pitcher against a division rival, it's going to be on ESPN or NBC or ABC. No, it wasn't. Well, you would think it would be on the local sports broadcast channel that people fucking pay for. You would be wrong. It was on the Roku channel.
It was enough to have me like spitting mad. I counted like 6 or 7 different services that we pay for and that broadcast different baseball games at different times. It like including all those that you just named, and
right.
Plus Apple, and plus like ESPN, and plus YouTube TV. On
crazy.
None of them. That's
crazy.
Absolutely insane.
And baseball is like the only sport that fucking does this. And like, I don't know why. Like, why do they do this? Like, at the very least, all the games should be on your local carrier. Like, that's the whole point. But there are games that like I can't watch because they're on Apple TV or they're on Roku or they're on, and it's just they don't put it out there. And it's just like, you miss games for no reason.
I have a question. Why did this happen? So, because I'm just hoping one of you knows, because I actually don't know. But it felt like this like major shift that happened a handful of years ago where you used to go to FSN, whatever state you lived in, and you watched your baseball team. Like, that's what happened. My dad watched the Reds every night. When I moved up here,
Tigers.
people watched Tigers every night on the same channel.
Channel 32.
What happened Like, why did the shift occur? Like, was it just like, was it the local television couldn't sustain? Like, what was the deal?
It was a shift between becoming unprofitable for the stations and teams wanting to control more of their own revenue. But the biggest problem is that the biggest markets don't fuck around with, like, it would have been your Fox Sports and then your Bally's and now your FanDuels. They have their own networks, so they don't do it like, say, a league like the NFL where all they sign like a national TV deal and then that's all redistributed equally. It's all done on a per team basis. So it's just been this transition.
The league step in, right? So the NCAA is trying to put a chokehold on the SEC and the Big Ten, hence the realignment to keep the TV deals aligned. That's one of the things that the NCAA doesn't get credit for. Why is the MLB letting these teams do this? That's interesting.
Well, I mean, the MLB is the teams and the owners, and the largest markets and the largest teams obviously have their own TV networks, so they're not wanting to, like, relinquish that revenue and then redistribute it equally to the fucking pirates who don't want to spend to.
Are saying, like, hey, we have X number of games that we oversee. I don't give a fuck if the Tampa Bay Rays.
Exactly.
Right.
That's bad. I would think that's bad for the league.
You would think, but these great, there's a whole bunch of things.
Right, in my opinion, because you couldn't, if you were not at the game, and low key, kudos to Comerica Park, 33,000 people. It was packed there. Like, it was actually like, oh man, like maybe this was not a good game to bring my son to because there's a lot of people. Kudos if you were there, but if you were not and you wanted to watch in the afternoon and you didn't know, you missed a crazy pitching performance.
I literally was trying to, like, turn it on while we were here and, like, could not do it. It was like Roku. I was like, are you fucking... I was like, I'm not doing it.
I didn't know Roku had a fucking channel. I thought they were going to...
Nobody fucking knew, right? Like,
and it is funny that you brought this up because I did listen to Ethan tirade in front of the TV yesterday because he was like, I can't believe it. I have XF services and I can't watch this baseball game.
I found out after the fact when I went to, like, you know, it's one of those things where, like, I'm watching it live and I'm like, well, this is pretty cool. But of course I'm watching with the 2-year-old and we had to leave early because I have a 2-year-old. So, you know, like, the game's in hand, we're up 5 runs, it's the 7th inning. I'm like, all right, we're going to listen to the rest on the radio. Let's go. Because you have to, like, nap. And I go online because I want to watch the last 2 innings. And I'm like, why is it, like, difficult? And I see on Twitter, people are, like, freaking out because they didn't know that it was on Roku. And apparently the Roku channel is, like, free if you get the app or whatever. But, like, nobody fucking does, and nobody knows.
It does.
And so you just miss the game.
It feels particularly, and I don't know if this is true, but I've run into this year with the NBA, where it's like, where the fuck is the game? Who is hosting this game?
Yeah.
And you look at it on a much smaller level with the NFL, with Amazon Prime taking over Thursday Night Football, and then ESPN has Monday Night Football, the major broadcasters have Sunday, NBC has Sunday night, and you look at that, and it's just going to get more and more fractured, but there are fewer games, so it's easier to track. 182 games in a season.
162.
162. That's fucking crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just tracking, it makes sense that would be amplified even worse, the problem.
But even in that, like, even the NFL is getting terrible in that way. I heard something, so I just looked it up to see. In 2025, if you want to have access to watch every single NFL game, it will cost you $1,515.
Wow.
You have to buy an NFL Sunday ticket.
The Sunday ticket.
You have to have Netflix.
Yep. Well, you have to have some kind of a subscription. So, like, if you want the Sunday ticket, you have to have YouTube TV.
Yep.
So then you're over.
That's $80 a month.
You're over
TV
$1,000 just between those two things. Then you have to have Peacock, Netflix, Amazon Prime, ESPN Plus.
Netflix picked up.
It's just crazy.
Christmas games.
Yeah. It's just crazy how much, like, you now have to, like, a few years ago when I get the Sunday ticket, I used to say, like, oh, but what a great deal. I now have every single NFL game. And I even used to justify it to myself by saying,
like, I want to watch the Bengals.
I want to watch the only way I can watch
them. Yeah.
Exactly. And at that point, okay, cool. that means that probably 12 of the games would have been blacked out in the market that I actually sit in. So I'm basically paying somewhere in the realms of like $50 to watch every Bengals game. You know what? I can make that make sense to me.
Sure.
Yeah.
But now I will pay that $50 a week and miss Thursday night football?
Right.
Miss Monday night. Like, this is crazy.
The value proposition for something like Sunday Ticket, even if you live out of market, but like it just doesn't make any sense. It's making less and less sense every year. Like, how many nationally televised games do the Bengals have this year? Like at least 4, right?
I think there's 4.
There's quite a few, yeah.
Right.
None
So
of them in Cincinnati, though. None of the primetime games, but,
1.
you know.
Pat's not grumpy.
Just kind of fucking
yeah,
bullshit.
and so like between how much it costs for something like Sunday Ticket, just to understand that, you know, a quarter of the season is you're just lighting that money on fire. That's $200, right? Like, isn't it like $50? Wait, how much is it for Sunday Ticket per month?
It's like $500.
It's like $500 for the season, so it's probably $100 a month.
So you're lighting. So what, like $100 a month?
You're
25.
You're probably lighting $100 on
like,
fire
Yeah, you're lighting $100 on fire just because
they play national. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. But good topic, Chris. We got to keep ourselves moving. We are falling a little bit behind because the whiskey tasting took a little bit, so we want to keep ourselves rolling.
I mean, we're gonna cut it down.
Ethan, what's got you?
What's got me this week is the NBA playoffs. We are into the conference finals now, and it has been a really strange and weird conference finals for both of them. We
road dogs all day.
saw, basically the road teams have been dominating. We saw two teams go up 2-0 in pretty dominant fashion in OKC and Indiana. And then we saw both of those guys basically have kind of a strange game 3 to lose it both times. The OKC got absolutely mollywopped by fucking the
Minnesota,
Timberwolves. Yeah. And it wasn't even close. And then it looked like Indiana was going to take a commanding 3-0 lead in the Eastern Conference Finals, and were up 20 for basically the vast majority of the game, and ended up blowing it down the stretch. Yep. Karl Anthony Towns had 20
After
had
all
20
that.
points.
After all
that. I am kind of interested, like, to bring that point up. Like, I have seen people like kind of getting in on Karl Anthony Towns's sexuality and saying that this is like an attack on like his sexuality. Do you think that there is like anything to that, or?
I think, number one, if you just watch it, so go look up Karl Anthony Towns Zesty, and you'll this shit
is definitely not an attack on his sexuality.
It's so fucking funny. But it's actually not just Karl Anthony Towns. Like, Tyrese Halliburton has gotten this too. Like, shit on for like changing their voice mid sentence. So like, it's definitely some homophobia, definitely. Like, I'm not at all saying that. Like, Jalen Ramsey got this too. With
He did.
That interview. See who locked up who?
Yeah, because you mad because I was locking you up. Sleep on that.
Sleep on that. Yeah, so they 100%. But what's interesting too about Kat is he's been getting shit on for like adopting arbitrarily a New York accent.
Yeah.
During his interviews, he just started talking like a New Yorker. But that kind
Cat is also just kind of an easy target because he's like this huge, like he's like
lumbering,
7 feet, and he's like gangly, you know.
He's got a weird upper body.
Yeah, he
fucking
moves
huge.
weird, and then he
looks like Gumby.
He looks like Gumby, and so you can't not look at him when he's on the court. You're always just like watching this dude. He's so visible,
and when he makes a pass, it's hilarious.
It's hilarious, and then when he doesn't get the call, he's so over the top about it. So it's like you just can't take your eyes off him, and then the microphones pick him up every single time.
Yeah, and you can hear him. So he goes like this when he gets like, even if he thinks he gets fouled, he goes like this.
Oh my god!
Oh my god! Yeah,
it's hilarious. It's legitimately hilarious.
He's also an easy topic because he is a bitch. Like, he's just
Wow.
I hate. Wow.
Now we've ventured into homophobia.
No. We venture into he's 7 feet tall and he plays like he's
soft.
6'5".
Yeah, he plays soft.
He is so soft. Like I hate.
When he plays his guys, he puts up a 20-point quarter.
Yeah, that's fine. When Carl Anthony Towns is like just one of those giant waists of a 7-foot frame. And he is, I hate watching Karl Anthony Towns play basketball. He is one of the people in the league. I hate watching him because I don't know why he plays this way.
It's
don't
bizarre.
know why.
Well, he suffers a little bit from the Joel Embiid thing where they are above average 3-point shooters and then they don't want to use their frames. Like they don't want to bang inside.
It feels
the way
like
they need
Embiid
to.
though is so much more consistent night in, night out. Like even
he's
like
consistently off the court.
Yeah, true. But like, look at the look at this in like the Indiana series or even the Detroit series when the Knicks were playing the Pistons, where Cat would like in like one game just go off, like just take over.
Yeah.
And watching, you think, oh, the Pistons have no shot, and then the next game he's just not there. He's just a guy.
You know what?
Like,
it's a little bit of Anthony Davis in that way, where they have this frame. They're both. I think they're both number 1 overall picks.
Extremely talented,
talent,
crazy,
and they don't play up to it. They play like a number 2. They're too busy putting on their fucking Robin costume to ever be a Batman.
Yeah.
It's fucking annoying. And Cat is particularly frustrating because when he got moved to New York, I was like, "Oh, this is your team." No, you were a 6-foot beach and Joe Brunson.
Yeah, it's Brunson's team.
Yeah,
it's
it's
clearly
ridiculous.
Brunson's team.
I'm rooting at this point for OKC. I would love to see OKC pull it out, but
everyone's hopping on my pick, huh?
You know, okay. It was Vegas' pick.
Boston's got too much. They're so deep.
You know, I went the Lakers, unfortunately. Ethan, do you feel good about how everything's gone down? Like, do you think the better teams have moved forward? The Boston thing was weird. That's what prompted me to ask.
Yeah, I think it's hard to say with Tatum's injury. The best teams at the time moving forward, probably yes then. But I don't see OKC losing to any of these teams based on the first couple games. Like Minnesota came out ready to play in game 3, but I really don't think they're going to be able to take the series, and I don't think anybody in the East is even going to be competitive.
You're not convinced by the Wolves' defense? Like, they're not going to shoot 50% again from the 3, so that's not going to happen. But they also don't need to beat them by 40 or whatever the fuck they beat them by.
The defensive adjustment was incredible. I mean, just going out there and playing them aggressively, I don't think that OKC, at least in this playoffs, has had to deal with a team that athletically can actually cause them a problem on defense. Yeah. Because they are just so much faster than everybody else.
Right? Like when Rudy Gobert is on the court, I mean, you have to just play differently.
And just look at the adjustment they made the other night. I mean, they just said, Rudy, every time Shy's over at the top, we just want you to step up to the free throw line and make it so that he can't take these elbow jumpers. Yep. Like, just take that shot away from his game and make him because they drive on everybody. It's the entire game for OKC is we are going to drive to the basket. We're either going to make a cool shot or we're going to kick it. And they locked them to the perimeter, and OKC was lost. If they can't figure out how to adjust to the aggressive nature of the Timberwolves, and if the Timberwolves can keep enough gas in the tank to be that aggressive and not get outrun down the stretch, I actually think Minnesota's kind of dangerous for OKC.
Their half-court offense is actually not very good. OKC's like their whole game is transitioning turnovers, and for Shea, what was so weird was it was almost like the Timberwolves saw Denver's defensive plan, and they're like, "Oh, that didn't work." No, it did work. They just aren't as good of athletes as you. Run the same fucking plan. Like,
well, that's what I was going to say. They had a similar game in Denver where they got blown out of the gym, and then they made adjustments and ended up coming up with it. So I was definitely impressed by Rudy Gobert and the defensive adjustments that they made, but I also think that keeping Gobert on the floor at all times is difficult. Basically, on the offensive end, he is a joke.
Yeah.
So
It was weird that lineup with Nas Reed and Gobert was working. I was really surprised by that, just because they're so long at that point, but they're also so slow. I don't know. It was cool to see. It's just cool, though, to see that this different plan may actually give us a series. I don't want to just see even a gentleman's sweep. I'd love to see the Wolves give them a little trouble.
yeah, I mean, I definitely would like to see both series go a little bit further, but I really don't see Minnesota being able to, like you said. I think they're going to grind them down and just run them out of the gym, like basically what they ended up doing with Denver. Just they do have a little bit more juice, but I don't know if they got enough to stick with them.
Yeah, I think Minnesota's going to grind it out. But as far as what's got me fucked up is that just a couple of weeks ago, Ethan knows this about me. I am one of those people who has become old, and I don't listen to a lot of music that I've not heard anymore.
I just listen to the shit that I used to listen to.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of music I used to listen to.
You throw out an age, right? There's an age that people just stop.
I read a thing that said 33 is when you stop listening to new music. I just saw that on the internet. I don't want to give it any credence because I haven't checked it.
As a newly minted 34-year-old, I will co-sign that.
But I will say I'm one of those people. Like I because I don't even listen to the radio. I don't even know how people find new music. Like I don't know how that occurs.
Word.
Like I don't know how people do it.
Guys, what?
Yeah, wait. How do you?
We're all on Spotify. There's literally multiple playlists.
Yeah, I mean, but aside from Discover Weekly, like, how are you?
Release Radar.
Oh yeah, that's like the new hotness.
There's multiple, but that's fucking crazy.
Do you want to know what's crazy? In my head, I'm going, yeah, but then I got to listen to a bunch of stuff to see if I like it.
I know what I like.
That's crazy. Anywho, but so recently,
Hey man, Rodeo Radio.
Recently, and again, people who know me know that I listen to country music a lot. And recently, I heard that like Morgan Wallen, whatever his name is,
Morgan Wallen,
he released an album, and
how many N-bombs were in that album?
And Haley made a comment that the album had like 18 tracks on it, and I was like,
man,
"What is this?"
Say N-bombs.
I know you were.
I thought you were gonna say N-bombs. I was like, God, Morgan is really going in on this one.
Leaning into the customers.
18, Jesus.
And I know he's become, but I also know that people really like this dude's music. So I was like, you know what?
Especially white girls.
I was like, I'm gonna pop on the new track. I'm gonna take a listen. And this is something that I noticed, and it got me thinking about how country music is developing, and I hate it.
Yeah.
Because I think that if you look back at the country music that I actually really like, I think a lot of people, I listen to the era of country music that everybody refers to as whiny country music. And it was because like I listen to the country music that's about trucks, dogs, and divorce.
Beers.
Yeah, like so I listen to a lot of that country music, and I always really liked that country music.
That means you were listening to basically all the dudes, because that era of country music for the women was "I'm gonna kill my husband."
It was like it was Carrie Underwood. It was
killing.
It was awesome. It was really good.
It's awesome.
It's like the better
like
half of country
we
music.
got cheated on.
I'm gonna kill this motherfucker.
But I dig this era of country music.
Yeah,
I'm a big sucker for the ballad song. Like I love the story song. Ethan knows all the songs I listen to and he rolls his eyes about them, but I love the romantic country song. I'm a big fan of that. But everybody called it whiny. And then we got into the 2010s and like country took this like stadium country
Stadium country,
right?
yeah,
Like,
that
we
was
got
a
Florida
weak
Georgia
era.
line and like all that. And it all became about drinking beer, and it kind of got like a little like
Problematic.
salty.
It was problematic.
Like it was all about like getting women drunk and then making moves on them, which is very uncomfortable.
Yeah, like sneaking alcohol into their drinks. Yeah, I was like,
That's awful.
Yeah.
Jesus.
But the reason that I've seen this move is because we had this period where basically all the country music was about the men who failed at relationships and like singing to their lost loves, right?
Yeah.
Then we got into the 2010s and they were all like, man, women are just for looking at and banging. And that's all they sang about. Now we're in this era of country music, and I was listening to Morgan Wallen's album, and it is, Ethan described it, I don't want to take the phrase, but he described it as incel country. Because it is all dudes that just hate women.
Just to be clear, can you tell us what an incel is, just in case? Yeah.
So I actually don't know how to define this. I just know what it is ideologically. It's like a dude that has decided that he doesn't.
They are involuntarily celibate.
Yeah, it's a portmanteau.
Oh, it like actually has like a thing?
Yeah, involuntarily celibate.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I learned that just now.
Yeah, I just learned that. I just thought it was
it's an involuntary celibate that arose out of corners of the internet. So Steve,
it's dudes who are so awful that they can't get laid
here's
anymore.
Here's the thing, and I want to be very firm about this, that like the tendency in circles like this is to like laugh it off. Like, they have significant following. Like, we're talking about millions of men.
It's a lot of
that
dry
are following.
penises.
And outgrowths like Andrew Tate, those guys are incel adjacent.
Yeah.
That's really, really critical to like understand.
Absolutely. And I think what I'm trying to say is like we're getting to this point in country music where I'm listening to all these songs and they're all just dudes singing about how much they hate the women that they've been with. Like, it's all about how whatever happened in their lives was this woman's fault. And I was even mentioning, like, we all love the song I Had Some Help. And all that song is this dude being like, wasn't my fault. It was on you. And like, it is a crazy era of country. And I hate it, dude. It is, people used to call country music whiny. This is the whiniest, softest country music that has ever existed. And I just had to tell you all how much I dislike it. And it's exactly why I will continue to listen to my odd-year country music.
I think we need to work on your guys' discovery process and find you some good new music. Maybe that's
I don't think so. Oh well, you know what? I do like the new guy that I like. I guess he's new. I do fucks with some Shabuzi.
He's not new.
He's not new. He's new to me. He's new to me. He didn't like start like the last like 5 years.
He's been out for a minute.
How long is a minute?
5 years is a long time.
Oh my god!
And I mean, Shabuzi did kind of pop like last year.
Well, I mean, even like the song that you guys we were playing at the little cookout yesterday. I had never heard that song. The one that made you dance.
Drink Don't Need No Mix.
Is that the one?
I don't know.
That's the one that I really like. Yeah, that shit.
Drake No Need No Mix.
That shit fucking
that slaps.
He's been out since 18.
Do you know what my new discovery?
He didn't get popular until 2021.
The last 2 years, you know, my new music discovery process has been. I've texted the people that I enjoy in my life, and I've been like, "Hey, will you send me your Spotify most listened to from last year?" Like I asked them in January, like send it to me, and then I'll listen to my friends. The most off the wall one. This dude, he's
pointing at Chris. By the way,
yeah, I didn't even ask for Chris's year too. Like I just moved on.
Wait, I don't even remember.
Oh yeah, dude, I listened, but that's what I did. I was like, man, they probably have music I don't listen to. I outsourced.
You want to know my discovery process is similar. Every year, I have my students put in their walk-up song. Like so, at the end of the syllabus, I say, "Thank you for reading the syllabus. Now that you've read it, please send me an email with your favorite candy and your walk-up song." Meaning, like when you walk up to the plate, right? And it's a way for me to know who reads the syllabus. Most of the students do, right? But it also gives me a look into like their tastes, right?
And
like,
personality.
and I put it all in the playlist. And you know what? It's all fucking old music. It's all just our music.
Or are they playing to the crowd?
No, they don't know. They don't fucking know me. Like so, they
know you're old. Fucking 50. You know what I'm saying? You look like a millennial. Like if you they are
picking songs that predate my era. You know, our era.
Oh, the oldies.
Yeah, they're like a lot of like classic rock, like a lot of classic rock.
Oh,
and then some like 90s R&B, like a little like some Mariah Carey. You know, a lot of Taylor, obviously, some Beyonce, and then no new. I've never had one where I'm like, Is this like a new person? Like except for Sabrina Carpenter. Like she's the only new artist.
Like Espresso or?
Yeah, Espresso.
Yeah.
Specifically Espresso.
Well, I just want to tell you guys about how I hate country music right now, and I don't.
That took a turn.
And specifically, I want to note that I don't like the way that country music, as I started thinking about it, has developed. Like, I feel like country music has never been some progressive form of music.
Nah.
But I actually think it's going in a very, very unfortunate direction with how people are finding country music as a way. I think people have always looked at country music in the era of the 90s and the 2000s. A lot of people went to country music because they found it as a way for a feeling that they could relate to and that they could sing with. And I think that if this is now what we can relate to and what we can sing with, we have a problem.
I'm
And
just
it
curious,
bothers me.
how does like the presence of Morgan Wallen or any of these other quote unquote incel country? So if I see that phrase, I'm gonna know the knowledge bar got to it first.
Yo,
The
that's
Ethan
a,
Harris.
it's a hashtag.
I'm
That
just
is a
like,
hashtag.
Dude, Ethan said it and I was like, ooh, you know what?
Incel
You're kind of
country.
like that. What I was like, man, they just like, it feels like they hate women. And they just are like, it's like listening to Taylor Swift circa 2008 sing songs.
But what I'm curious about is the contrast of like that and then the last few years with the pushing in from particularly black artists like Lil Nas X or Beyonce most notably, like pushing into country and then really putting what are the country music awards called? Is it the CMAs?
The
CMA,
CMA.
Country Music Awards.
Yeah, there was that like, is Beyonce country, right?
Was
Is
country
Lil
album?
Nas X country, right? Like, is Post Malone country because he released that album?
Yeah.
It's just a really interesting, like, is country this low key, like, cultural battleground for some of these messagings? I don't know. I see those conversations as paired in some country and, you know, like, are some of these artists properly country?
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I've normally been a fan of the idea that, like, the artist is not a genre. The music they create is a genre and it fits into a genre. So, like, it doesn't matter what you think about that artist. Like, if they make the type of music that fits in that genre, then it is that type of music. So shut the fuck up. But I do think you're right. There is a pairing there, which is, where is this piece of the country fan base retreating to as new voices are moving their way into that space? But like I said, I think it is incredibly upsetting. We won't spend any more time on it. We got to keep ourselves rolling. Pat, wrap us up. What's got you?
Yeah, what's got me fucked up, not in a bad way, just like is this idea of Adulting 101. So Adulting 101 are these classes, online, in person, whatever, part of a curriculum, not part of a curriculum, that are supposed to offer young folks, any college attendee, theoretically, access to lessons about how to be an adult. So, quick lesson. These popped up in 2023. They showed up at Boston College, and they've been proliferating across college campuses, either, again, as part of their proper curriculum or not. But some stats that I thought would be interesting for why these are so necessary. Compared with other countries, adults in America spend less time doing household chores such as mopping and ironing. When we ask, they do not know how to do those tasks regularly. They get divorced far more frequently than their other, they being Americans, get more, divorced more frequently than their counterparts in other places of Western Europe. Less than half of Americans understand basic financial principles like interest, how to balance a checkbook, or even how to understand credit cards and how credit cards make money. When we ask the majority of Gen Z, do you feel like an adult? Even the ones that are over the age of 22, majority are now saying no. All of these come from and are outsourced by The Economist. So, these statistics. And it's got me really fucking thinking about what it means to be an adult. There's this old man instinct that I have in me that's finger wagging and like, what do you mean you need a class to know how to be a fucking adult? But on the other hand, I'm happy that these resources exist for people. So, Adulting 101. Would you take it?
If I were 22, yeah. I mean, like, if there was
But why would you take it then? If you would, like, what are you, not necessarily
What
an
I would, like,
emotion,
take
but
it for?
what skill? Yeah.
Probably like money management. Like I had to kind of like figure my way around money during I went straight through, right? I'm what's called a KJD. I went kindergarten to JD straight through, right? So I jump into the workforce, and when I clerked on the federal court, that's like my first like real job. And I didn't really, I knew how taxes worked. I knew like, oh, the government takes it out of your check and it funds the government.
It funds the roads.
Yeah. But like, I didn't know that if you did independent contracting work, which I did a little bit of independent contracting work for my mom, that you had to do like this whole other form so that you would pay the taxes on that income. So I ended up with like this giant tax liability my first year out of law school. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know how any of this works, right? And it would have been nice if at 22, while I was in college and undergrad, to have a little class, like, even if it's just like a little seminar, not like a full on 3 credits, like, you know, like a 1 credit seminar where you're like, hey, this is how money works. This is how you do this.
Well, so
nice.
I see Alex nodding at like the idea of like the finances. So some of the research that I looked into, adulting 101 classes are now split into 3 main branches. Classes for the home, so how to do household chores and the like, how to iron your shirt, that kind of thing.
I would absolutely take a home class on home maintenance.
Home maintenance. Do you think that would help you tell the difference apart in deck paint? Like, just to know.
Oh, maybe. It might be something.
Hey, dude, when they side by side, you're going to find out real quick. You know what I'm saying?
So it's home relationships and money.
Yeah,
home relationships and money. And relationship caught me off guard.
That's a little bit weird.
I didn't expect that one. Like, I was like, okay, definitely. Like,
what does the relationship classes cover?
I appreciate that these resources are available, and I think that these resources should be available. There's
a big butt coming.
Oh, there's a big butt coming.
There's a Pixar butt coming.
Yeah.
Was that an Incredibles joke?
Yeah.
It's just an Elastigirl joke. Just so we're clear, it is a all Pixar mom. Like, all of them just got dump trucks. No, but the big butt that's coming is, I don't think that you should need to. I don't think that we should have to offer it as a class, as a part of your education, as a part of your formal education, in order to get you to sit down and learn it. The resources should exist. And we should teach people how to do this stuff. Like, for years in admissions, we used to love asking the question on essays about, like, what's one class you would add to your school's curriculum if you could? And every single student wrote, I wish they would teach me a class in life skills. Every single student.
That's interesting.
And we used to talk about how, like, oh, it's so funny because it's become so cliche that they all write it down. But it also does start to look at you and go, yeah, but what does it also tell you about what's missing from these students' skill development that we're not teaching them? I'm all about it. We don't teach enough practical skills. We need to teach the practical skills. My problem is that we have talked, like with the reading stuff, we have talked about the psychological resilience. And I think that when it comes to, I don't know how to do something, our instinct is now, well, we need to add it to the curriculum. No, we don't. We need people to learn how to do things, and we need to teach people how to learn.
Well,
it's not, and don't get me wrong, like, not everybody has role models and people in their lives to teach them these things, but the resources exist online. They exist through a lot of community organizations. They exist on college campuses outside of classrooms where we're teaching financial skills. My problem is that students are not going to get those things, and they're saying, well, I would do it as long as I'm getting credit for it.
Oh, well, that would
no, go on.
I mean, like, I kind of agree with that, right? Like I learned how to do a lot of the stuff around the house. Like, I'm getting into like landscaping now, right? And I just look up YouTube videos, right? So I don't think like a credit should be like.
So let's set aside like what the carrot is, to use that language of like proper college credit, right? The fact that this is such a need, to me, is an interesting, like, why do 18-year-olds need us to know how to do X, Y, or Z? And, like,
There's so much that's just like kind of unspoken, right? Like there's so much that's going on.
I was at a wedding earlier this summer, or last summer, late last summer, and it was 6 men in the wedding. I was not in the wedding, but I was there early to support a buddy.
He was salty about not being in the wedding.
I bet he's the only one who knew how to tie a tie.
Yeah, none of them knew.
Like how to tie a tie or like a bow tie?
Any tie. Like not a forehand, not a half, not a full wing. Like they didn't know how to tie a tie.
They couldn't even throw the forehand out there.
They couldn't even throw the motherfucking forehand. Which, like, throw that to the side. It's like, okay, we'll have these moments where it's like, okay, Patrick, be chill. That's a moment of class. Okay. But then it's like, I don't know how to, even where to turn for some of these answers, like, that I've run into with younger AmeriCorps members. I don't know where to turn to learn about basic nutrition.
What do you what do you mean?
How do I put together a healthy diet? What does that even begin to look like? I'm not even talking about macros. I'm talking about, like, generally try to eat a bunch of vegetables, eat some meat,
But I would come to the point that that's because in that statement, you want somebody to deliver you a diet plan,
right?
And you don't want to learn about nutrition.
So you think it's on them?
I think there are things that we're talking about where it's like we live in a world where all of those resources to teach you how to do those things exist. Like, this isn't the case where we no longer live in the world where if mom didn't teach me this, I can't learn it.
Sure.
We do live in a world where that resource is available to most of the people that we are talking about in this conversation, because this is who we're focused in on, is these college students. That stuff is available, but you don't want to do the work to learn nutrition. You want somebody.
So what is that?
Want somebody to hand you a diet plan.
What's going on? Right? Can we? I do want to circle back because you were touching on it, and we kind of shifted away from it. What's going on in the relationship specter, the kind of unexpected one?
So that one was a little more nebulous for me when just reading about it, but it seems that it's reacting to the fact that relationships are
hard,
but just by every metric, at an all-time low, and it's not getting to some
of the incels walking around.
For sure, some of it, right?
Yeah.
Like some of it is that
shifting. I thought that would get more laughs.
Shifting cultural.
Pat made it weird to say it out loud. he was like, it's not funny. And I was like, I didn't even know what it meant, but he was like, it's not funny. And all I thought we were just talking about men who hated women. Like, that's the only knowledge I had of real fucking thing.
Like, but the relationships piece seems to be reacting to divorces continuing to climb. The young people are not having as much sex. They're not engaging in relationships as much. And generally, the question seems to be, I don't know how. I don't know how to initiate a conversation. I don't know how to initiate. Like, I went to my department when I was still teaching, and I said, I promise you, 2 classes will be enrollment gangbusters. Just run them. Number 1, run sex communication. How do you have a proper communication, open communication about sex? And then number 2, how do you have a conversation? Teach students how to actually have a conversation, not the theoretical bullshit.
I make the conversation one a prereq for sex conversation. Like, that one seems pretty foundational.
Wow. Chris was like, can we teach the approach and then the close? That's what he's really wanting to go for.
But that idea of, like, these skill sets that in some ways, I don't know, like, I have the same sort of irritated reaction as you, Alex, but at the same time, it's like, I don't want that irritation to belie my ability to find a solution or to identify, holy shit, there are kids really walking around here saying they don't know how to iron a shirt. For me, that is such a basic fucking skill.
But here's the thing. When did you learn? Like, I didn't really learn to iron a shirt until I was in college forensics, and like I had to do it for speech. And I think, like, and I don't know this exactly, but I would almost bet that you didn't learn how to do it until that point either, right? Yeah. So, like, you were 20 years old when you learned how to iron a shirt, just like these kids are. But But the thing that you did was
Figured it out.
You figured it out and you learned.
Right.
And like, I think that we are replacing a desire to learn things with every single time we can't come up with the answer right immediately. Like if I can't ask Siri what the answer is, there should be a class for it.
It sounds like almost like a fear of failure.
Well, and maybe it is, right? Yeah. Like, I forget the book. There was something, we'll put it in the show notes, but there was a fellow who wrote a book and it was all about how we have functionally destroyed childhood. The ability to learn how to problem solve, make mistakes, and because parents are having fewer children than ever, so they have more time to oversee one child, but they also have more resources to funnel into that child. Yeah. We inoculate them from sort of the natural patterns of growth. But I guess it is a weird paradox at the heart of this conversation. Never before have they had so many resources at their disposal and yet an inability to use them.
Like paralyzed.
I don't know. Say again.
Like they're like, it's like a paradox of choice.
And maybe it's that. Dude, you could just get on YouTube and say, how to tie a tie. Why am I tying your tie?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, seriously.
You're a grown-ass fucking man.
Yeah,
why am I tying your tie? Look it up. You know, and there is that frustration, but I never want that frustration to be like, you know, not actually addressing what's at heart.
I don't know how to talk to members of the opposite sex. It's kind of I don't want to say funny. It is kind of funny.
It's so good,
but like, because the only way to learn how to do that is to just go do it. Just go and suck at it for like a few years, and then eventually you'll kind of learn what works and doesn't work, man. Because just like
take them out.
Yes, you gotta take it out because I think what we kind of like saying like, oh, you can.
Very, very interested in what your perspective on this question is. And especially given the things that you do for work, I'm like very curious as to what your perspective is on this. Different audience, obviously, but like in terms of like that skill building process, I'm just curious where you are on this.
I mean, I definitely can see like where the frustration comes from, but I also one of the big things that I've noticed with learning is that it is embarrassing a lot of the time, and just like not being able to, like Pat said, not knowing even where to look. Like that is the more interesting thing to teach people to me is, like you said, teach people how to learn, teach people how to have a conversation, do those things. And then everything should stem off of that. And I think that I, like you guys said, am for the classes and like for the resources in general, but I can definitely see where like that frustration comes from. But I can also see from the other side, like where that hesitation or frustration on their own end of just not knowing where to go can also lead you to not wanting to engage with it at all in a certain way.
I think we just got to tell the kids, hey man, you're going to have to learn the hard way. It's fine. You know, go talk to her. She's probably going to reject you.
Chris always, every time we talk about learning, he always gets stuck on this can't talk to the opposite sex thing. Like it is like his big, every time we have a conversation. Bro,
it is crazy working with young people. It is crazy how much anxiety there is about, like, it's crazy. Like, just go and talk to them. It's fine. They're not going to murder you.
On the whole, though,
the men might.
That's what got me, is just this idea of what does it mean to be an adult? And maybe this is the last question that I'll leave you as the audience with. Do you feel like an adult?
That's also the second time Pat's posed that question in the first 29 episodes.
Hey, we're 29 episodes in. That's
we are.
Fire.
Next week is.
We got to get out of here, fellas. We're way over time. So we're going to do just one more. Ethan, give us just one more.
My just one more this week is going to be a YouTube video. It's from a channel called YMS, or Your Movie Sucks. And it is a review and kind of a takedown of the live action Lion King movie. The video essay is 2 hours and 40 minutes long.
Oh, shit.
So it's longer than the actual movie, but it is such a great, it's funny and entertaining just as its own kind of video. I get a lot lot of entertainment out of it. But the other thing is, it really shows you how to break down, and the fact that you have an existing work and now this new work, it really shows you, like, he walks you through the steps of why they did this, and he shows you like behind the scenes, like interviews, like with people walking through the process of why they did certain things, and then shows how they changed it in the new live action version, and why it can seem like it's a shot for shot remake, but so much of the heart not being in there, and all of these like actual decisions that were being made that are just now being regurgitated, how that can take so much away from the actual film and the storytelling. And with all of these live action remakes coming out, Lilo and Stitch just came out. I think it is a really interesting and insightful video. I would highly it is worth 3 hours of time, in my opinion. I highly recommend you check it out.
Awesome. My just one more is going to be Mission Impossible this week.
Did you already see it? Like the new one?
No. I'm talking about.
Like
I think everybody should watch the OG.
The OG is
and
crazy.
Because the new one just came out, and supposedly this is going to be it. But I think that if anybody wants to, and you've not seen the original Mission Impossible, you should see it. I saw it, like I told you all, I saw it like a year ago for the first time.
Word?
And I highly recommend this movie.
Good movie.
Because, first of all, there's a lot of articles and stuff out there about how, like, Tom Cruise is our last movie star, right? And this is kind of, early Tom Cruise figuring out his action starness. And it's awesome. But it's also just a super cool spy movie. So I highly recommend, if you've not seen any of these movies and you've kind of always pushed them out because you were like, these are kind of just dumb action flicks, you should watch it. It's a lot of fun. It is still, even like 20 years later, it is still a fun spy movie. And you'll find that, like, a lot of the things that you have seen the spy movies do over the last 20 years, they looked at Mission Impossible and they were like, oh, look what they did. Yeah. So it's very cool.
I show the vault scene to my students every year. I work in my curriculum.
I think it's also really interesting because it's a Brian De Palma movie, so it's like has his style completely all over it, and the Mission Impossible series is just very interesting to watch because you get to see how different directors put their own fingerprints on everything, and seeing where Mission Impossible basically has come from is also super interesting. I think
definitely. Pat, wrap us up. Get us out of here.
Well, Chris
has to go too.
Really briefly, YouTube channel called Gag How Do I? Gag How Do I? And it's just a YouTube channel with an actual gag who's just teaching you functional skills. So, how to iron your shirt, how to balance a checkbook, how to apply for a credit card. He just goes through and shows you. Very brief, super functional. Honestly, he does a wonderful job. Gag, how do I?
I love it. Chris, wrap us up.
I'm going to have a real simple recommendation. Watch baseball. Baseball is a fun sport. It's chill. It's meditative in a way, but it's also really cool. And the more people that watch baseball, the more money baseball will make, and the easier it will be for me to watch. See, the snake eating its own tail. Please watch baseball. It's a good time.
You're a nightmare.
This guy said baseball.
What? Baseball, bro.
He recommended a whole sport.
It's because people aren't watching it.
We have got to get out of here, but we appreciate all of you coming in for one more conversation here at the Knowledge Bar. As always, we do want to remind you to please subscribe, rate, make sure that you drop us that 5-star review, leave us a comment. If you need to ask us any questions or want to give us your thoughts about the show, please email us at podcast@theknowledge.bar. All of our recommendations, cocktail recipes, everything like that can be found in our show notes. We want to give a special shout out to Ethan for editing and producing all of our episodes. And until next time, y'all, we hope that you get out there and you do have a conversation with somebody. They don't have to be of the opposite sex. That's just Chris's weirdness. But we...
Yeah, watch out. They're out to you. They got numbers. They got crazy numbers.
Hey, it's not funny. Until next time, everybody. Cheers.
We're going to get review bombed.